Hello, this is David Gordon-Koch reporting from Moncton for the NB Media Co-op. A public hearing over controversial plans to expand an industrial park near St. John spanned 5 hours on Monday evening, as city councillors heard passionate opposition from area residents. People from the Save Lorneville campaign say the project will destroy forests and wetlands and threaten their residential well water. The city of St. John has said the project will create jobs in a city vulnerable to American tariffs and has stated that it's focusing on green and clean economic sectors. The city has also introduced changes to the plan, including larger setbacks from homes. Those changes, however, haven't satisfied people from the overflow crowd that showed up on Monday to oppose the plan. Monday's hearing was adjourned at 11 p.m. and will continue on Tuesday. NB Media Co-op intern Lucas Reynolds combed through hours of footage from the public hearing to bring you this reel of highlights. Stay tuned.
I'd also like to highlight that the jurisdiction of council for the purposes of this evening's public hearing is land use. So it's the amendment to the zoning bylaw and the amendment to the municipal plan. So we won't be dealing with the environment. We'll be dealing with those two issues. This evening is for council to hear about objections. Council's process on land use applications is governed by the Community Planning Act, and council we feel we went above and beyond that because I've been on council since 12 with some other members here. We've never ever sent any item to have a task force put together. So we're hoping that we've captured a lot of what the community has wanted to say. Environmental issues of concern follow a separate process. That's the EIA.
We as residents of this city placed our faith in this council when we elected you to those seats, with the understanding that you would be here for all communities, including ours, and that you would listen to and represent our concerns. We are here for our neighbors, far and wide. You will hear of Lorneville's history and the battles residents have endured over the decades just for the right to live peacefully within the boundaries of this city. Now, unlike the assumptions made in the city staff-generated documentation, we're not just a group of people crying, "Not in my backyard." We are a group of concerned citizens from all over the city and surrounding areas who are speaking up to say enough is enough and stand arm in arm with like-minded individuals who want to make it known that this assault on the environment, it's wrong and it's no longer going to be tolerated. What was delivered to us the evening of Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025 was nothing more than a whitewashed techno-speak planning document that was attempting to masquerade as a report outlining resident concerns without actually making mention of any of those specific issues or concerns. Not once did anyone who sat in that room imply that it would be fine to destroy critical wetland and natural vegetation anywhere else in this beautiful city. We were very clear in stating that the city should be using land that they have already secured along the King William Road, as well as land that had already been designated as heavy industry. I take offense to yet another dismissive comment that was part of that city report. As per policy LU 76 in the city's municipal plan, designation for industrial land use is heavy. So this is my definition, I equate this designation as the foundational building block for this type of specific land use. And that means that once the land use of the area has been designated for heavy, any potential industry wishing to set up shop in the area can apply for zoning, which could be heavy, medium, or light in nature. Even with the What We Heard report repeatedly implying that the new Spruce Lake Industrial Zone would be mainly medium and light in nature, I'm sorry, but the door is wide open for heavy industrial use to set up in that area. It is not the zoning that's of importance in this situation, it's the designation. If that's not the case,
Sherry?
One sentence. If it's not the case, then the municipal plan for the city of St. John isn't worth the paper it's written on if city bureaucrats can simply interpret it the way they wish to suit their needs when dealing with residents and their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Land usage and the benefits of the land is for everyone, not just these silos of people that start making decisions and then the public barely knows that it's happening. It might be something that we actually put out or that you guys have put out a lot of detail on, but they aren't reaching general public. The number of people that I talked to about Lorneville don't know anything about it. And so it may seem like you're doing due diligence, but you're not. You're not getting the entire perspective from everybody that could be impacted.
And the other thing I was concerned about in the presentation was when it talked about data centers. That is something that's really well known, and there's all kinds of research out there if you just do a simple Google search about the climate change impacts on emissions. If the city wants to meet its climate change targets and you approve a project like that, we're never going to meet those targets.
This policy gives the illusion of wanting to maintain the historic and rural charm of our coastal village by limiting residential growth, a sector that brings in 68% of the tax base, however, apparently does nothing to protect the village from industrial takeover, a sector that pays very little into the tax base and a lot into pollution, land use, and land destruction.
I would say that the address from the city is, like, with all due respect, one of the most condescending things I've ever witnessed. These people have worked really hard. My full-time job is to work with communities across this country to help build the skills that these people have built themselves. And for you guys to do that and then sit here and beg, asking for more reason to not make a decision, well, that ethically is something that you're gonna have to hold yourself. Like, open up your hearts. This is heart-led work. This is community-led work, and you guys are representatives of constituents that are here begging and pleading for you to just listen to them. And there's nothing else that anybody else can say, because we can tell you, Donna, we can tell you all of the policies. We can tell you how wrong this is. We can tell you all of these things, right? But you guys already know this. Like you've said, you are far more informed about the political loopholes than we are as constituents. But when it comes down to it, what about 7 years from now? What about the children that are going to grow up in Lorneville? How is this not setting Lorneville up to be a sacrifice zone? How is this not? Can you guys answer to us that? How are you setting us up to be making sure and ensuring that we have a right to a healthy environment? They've done their due diligence. They've talked to David Kuhn. They're trying to do and exercise the wheels of justice. How can you tell the people of Lorneville that they can now safely raise their family with such minuscule barriers for heavy industry? Because I can tell you now that you guys can say and put in all these policies right now, but what happens to the next council and the next council and the next council that degrades any type of protections that you put in and hollow out any type of securities that you've put in? Because I have watched it happen. I have covered countless stories. Does St. John want to become the next Mount Poly? Do we want to become the next Sarnia and Cancer Alley? Like, is this what we want? Do we want to become the next Grassy Narrows? You get one shot. All I am asking for you to do is lead with your hearts, have empathy-led decisions here, make watershed-wide decisions, not just small, narrow-minded, selective decisions, and be sensible. We just need a couple of you to exercise that moral value and to stand with the people here who care about that environment. Just because you don't see it every day and just because it's out of sight and out of mind for you doesn't mean that it's out of sight and out of mind for them. And it
Ashley,
doesn't mean that it's
I
out of
think-
sight and out of mind for their grandchildren.
Okay.
I realize that I'm at time. I realize that
Yeah,
this
and
is
it's
slightly
quite a
aggressive and
judgment.
passionate.
It's quite a judgment. No,
This
I think-
isn't.
yeah. Okay. Anyway, okay.
Because it's
Okay.
not about the new things,
I'm
because
gonna-
they've had
that's it.
27 hours of speaking.
Ashley, Brent, Counselor Harris. Counselor Harris.
Nobody is yelling
Counselor
at
Harris.
you. I'm
Counselor
saying
Harris.
to use
Counselor
your
Harris.
conscience. These people.
Okay,
Tonight, I'd like to give you a summation of what has taken place over the many years and continues to this day. January 1967, our community was amalgamated with the city of St. John against the wishes of the residents. Mayor Art Gould, on amalgamation in 1967, read a declaration to the record at Common Council, given the freedom of rights to a community to decide the uses of their community. This was unanimously approved by Common Council. And so this is what I have been saying all along about, you have one council in place and then they make these decisions and these promises, and then the next council changes them. Like, we need some stability here. That's the problem. Our property taxes are the same as the rest of St. John, but we certainly don't have the same services. No sidewalks, no bus service, no water and sewerage, no fire protection, and only one way out. In the event of an accident in the industrial park, we are trapped. June 1971, 8,000 acres of land was expropriated to make way for a thermal plant, a deep water port, an asphalt plant, and an oil refinery. There was much opposition and little notice was given. It's a totally disgraceful way to to treat people. During the time I arrived home from school, my mom was sitting at the table crying. As she had just learned on the news, we had to move. Sorry. It felt like a knife through my heart as I watched her cry. The events which happened within the future years just opens those traumatic wounds. July 3rd, 2024, this brings us to current time. Unaddressed white envelopes show up in the Lorneville residents' mailboxes from Dillon Consultant announcing the proposed Spruce Lake industrial expansion. The letter was dated June 19th, 2024. This was the first notification to the residents announcing this proposed development. It was 2 weeks late and they wanted feedback by July 15th. Deceitful and not starting off on the right foot, especially for a community that has been mistreated in the past. Most people thought it was junk mail, and in the garbage it went. Dillon Consultant is the company being sued by Woodstock over a failed $4.1 million water project. This really gives us a warm, fuzzy feeling regarding our EIA process. Both the province and the city have mandated to increase protected natural areas. Why is government going against their own mandates? The city is expected to spend $774,000 to plant 1,100 trees. It was stated with reference to the purchase of these trees that they have a vital role to create healthy, sustainable environments. They absorb carbon, improve air quality, provide shade for people and animals, reduce the heat effect, how it beautifies and also helps to eliminate the snow melt, which reduces flooding, provides green space for people to relax and connect with future, and helps with well-being and mental health. It is very unsettling to hear this, while it appears that there's no problem to push this project to destroy this very thing we have in Lorneville. Please make this make sense.
I understand that tonight is for one specific purpose, and I don't believe that my neighbors and friends and family members are confusing the purpose of tonight's meeting by talking about the EIA and other concerns that they may have. I don't believe it's a miscommunication or a misconception. I just think that they're trying to drive home what will happen after tonight, after you vote on this matter tonight. This vote is either the stopping point or the continuation of what is about to happen in the Spruce Lake, Industrial Park expansion project. We just want you to fully grasp the scope of what you are either going to permit or stop.
So I'm a grandmother and a proud resident of Lorneville, and I'm going to speak from my heart and for my grandchildren and for the community that's been my home for decades. Tonight, I asked you to vote no, or whenever you're voting on this, on the proposed land use amendment for the Spruce Lake Industrial Expansion. I just want to reiterate that, just to be clear, I think all the residents here totally understand that the EIA is under the Department of Environment, provincially decided. But with 204 applications in 12 years, 201 have been approved, 1 denied, and 2 have gone to comprehensive. So you're the only hope for saving this wetlands right now. And we're told by the province of New Brunswick, just on Friday, they are waiting on your intentions of the land before they deny or approve the EIA application. So this is indirectly in your hands. And that's why so many people are talking about the EIA. I also want to state that Mr. Dobbelstein spoke about the credibility of the EIA, but it is, I can tell you right now, it is biased. It states that the Lorneville community embraces the expansion of the Spruce Lake Industrial Park. Who did the survey on this? We have a petition, it's in your package.
Yep, it is there.
It's from the Lorneville residents, it has the PID numbers on it. It's near 100% opposed to this expansion. I just wanted to bring that point up. So this isn't thoughtful planning, it was reactionary development. It all started with the EV battery plant, a project that has been since canceled. But in the excitement, we lost sight of our planning principles, environmental protection, and the people who actually live here. We weren't listened to during the whole task force meetings. So this was rushed, and the province pressured the city to designate for heavy industry just to secure a $1 land transfer. Yes, it's a good deal, but only if we ignore the cost to our community and to the environment. The city even bought back 8 acres of land for $1.4 million. That's the little dot here, if you can see from there, number 4. 8 acres, bought it back for $1.5 million that they had sold just 4 years earlier for $64,000. That's not strategy, that's panic spending. This project is created on speculation of how many jobs. And will those jobs be for St. John residents? Will they be subsidized jobs? And at what cost? What is the cost to cover the clearing, the setup, the gravel pads, water, sewerage, and power? It's estimated at hundreds of millions for taxpayer dollars. Is this logical to think that development jobs will outweigh the cost when the existing Spruce Lake Industrial Park still has large parcels of land vacant with for sale signs with no developers in years? Lorneville already lives with an industrial park, a metal shredder, an asphalt plant, and a dump with no liner. We were told the land now for redesignation would be our buffer, our protection. Now you're turning that buffer into another threat. You spoke up for Woolastook Park. Will you speak up for us? We may be out of sight, but we're not out of mind. Destroying wetlands is not progress. This project will destroy over 200 acres of wetlands, ecosystems that filter water, absorb carbon, prevent flooding, and protect biodiversity. We're told it's okay because $3 million will be spent on compensation. But let's be real. This is not environmental stewardship. It's environmental theater. As David Suzuki reminds us, less than 2% of these funds ever go toward actual restoration. Wetlands lost are almost never replaced. If we're planting 1,100 trees in one part of the city while clear-cutting acres of mature forest in another, what message are we sending? The process was not dialogue, it was a sales pitch. I served on the community task force, I gave my time in good faith, but it became clear that the city wasn't there to listen. They were there to sell the project. In the process, timelines were changed, meeting canceled, last report to the community delayed, location changed from community center to city hall, and presented to the task force only. When given the option, the community chose to have it presented to all of the residents at once. This is about fairness. We don't oppose progress, we oppose recklessness. The same values that protected Woolastook Park well-being, safety, integrity must apply to us too. You are our representatives. You are our last line of defense. Please don't make this a story of double standards. Let's reclaim the meaning of community. The province's own publication, Sustainable Communities, page 12, draws a critical distinction. Discussion, as you said, your city had a discussion with the community. Discussion aims to convince someone of your opinion. Dialogue aims to understand, putting oneself in another's shoes. This process has all been discussion, no dialogue. We deserve better. For nearly a year, Lorneville residents have fought to protect our homes, our health, and our future. We've done so respectfully, passionately, and persistently. Now it's your turn. Please vote no to this amendment. Protect Lorneville from further industrial encroachment. Prove to us that our voices matter as much as anyone else's in this city. Do not trade community trust and environmental integrity for a quick land deal. St. John too. We deserve the same protection, the same empathy, and the same respect.
You know, there's a history of, for lack of a better word, generational trauma of things being taken away, land being taken away. And so as a community coalition, we feel like this is something where, as a city, we should all be standing up for them a little bit better. And as a city, we have the capacity to do better. We've shown that already with the way we've handled other issues. And I think slowing down a little bit and maybe slowing the steamroller, taking out the keys and talking to people a little bit more might be really appropriate at this time. Like right now, residents don't seem to have a lot of assurances, and they don't have a lot of assurance about will their well water be safe. And it's also about just their property. When you have unknown industry encroaching on your land, then the risk, of course, is that people might want to move out. And if their well is running dry, people are going to want to move out. And so it's not just encroachment, it starts to feel a little bit more like rent eviction. If your landlord is, doing major renovations downstairs, it's loud, it's noisy, there's dust, and you don't want to be there anymore. And that's also a risk. Residents don't have assurances that that's not going to happen, that they're not going to try to buy up their land and encroach further.
Now we face the proposal of a new industrial park totaling over 1,500 acres. This industrial park borders much of our community. It threatens to destroy what remains of Lorneville's natural landscape. If approved, it will transform our community into an industrial ghetto. I was 5 years old when my grandparents were expropriated. My parents and my grandparents had to bear that burden. In the 80s and 90s, my wife, mother, and I dealt with the city dump and the proposed landfill. My eldest daughter was just an infant then. Now my wife and I are back here again, this time with our youngest daughter. Living in Lorneville should not be a generational fight for survival. I attend meetings and see families giving up time with their children and grandchildren. It's heartbreaking. What other community has to fight generation after generation just to secure clean air, water, and a safe place to live?